Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about hatching chicks and the brooding basics that you're going to need once they arrive, either with hatching them yourself or from getting them from a store or a hatchery. So 19 days ago, we had gathered eggs. We've been gathering them for about 6 days or maybe 8 from our chickens that we have out in the pasture, and we do have one rooster. It's an Easter egger rooster. And we mainly collected our Easter egger eggs also, and a couple from the other chickens, but not many. We got this incubator from Premier One Supplies. It's the Real 49 Plus incubator by Barado. This is our first time hatching in an incubator. We have hatched once from a hen, and she was able to hatch 2 eggs, I think, for us. So we wanted to give it a try hatching our own with an incubator, a little bit more reliable. When our hen did it, she actually ended up smashing and killing some of the babies because she wasn't very careful, and she was a Buff Orpington. She was a really big chicken, and she ended up laying on them and they didn't make it. So we're hatching them in the incubator, and we put them in 19 days ago. Every 5 days, we would move the eggs around. So this incubator actually comes with an automatic turner. You can kind of see it down here. It's a rack. And it turns the eggs constantly, 24 hours a day, just back and forth, really gently. So you don't have to, and that makes it really nice. There are incubators that will turn them for you, and then incubators where you have to turn them yourself, and you have to turn them multiple times a day. That's not something that I was ready to take on and remember every single day. So we put this on. We pretty much, that's all we have to do besides monitor our humidity. This little gauge up here tells us how much, what the temperature is, and for chickens you want to keep it at 99.7 degrees. For the humidity, there's a little spout on the back. I'll show it to you in just a moment. And for the first 18 days, you just fill one of the trays with water every day. Make sure it's always has water in it. The humidity is needed to keep the chicks alive and make sure the shells doesn't stick to them. On day 18, we took the tray out that turns them, and we took all the eggs, and put them on a mat that's included with the incubator, so they'll have room to hatch and won't get caught on this. It makes it a lot easier for them. You also need to increase the humidity, so on day 18 you start doing both of the humidity slots on the back. Normally, chickens take about 21 days to go from into the incubator to hatching into a chick. And so we weren't expecting it. Like I said, this is our first time. But on day 19, we actually had one hatch. And so we were very surprised. We weren't ready. Thankfully, it doesn't take long to get ready for chicks. They also will stay in here in the incubator for 24 to 48 hours, maybe a little bit longer. We can take them out, but you just don't want to open it too often because it messes with the humidity in there, and the eggs really need that humidity in order to get the chicks out easier. So now today is day 20, and we have 6 chicks now with several more pipping, which means they're breaking through the shell. And I think I said we started with 29 eggs. On day 18, I took out the ones that were not fertilized, and you can tell that by taking a flashlight and going to the bottom of the egg. And if you can see light all the way through the egg, that usually means it's not fertilized. And if it's nice and dark, and sometimes you'll be able to see veining or even to see the chick inside, then that one's fertilized. You definitely want to keep those. And if you're unsure, just leave them. You can always take them out afterwards. So out of the 29, 18 were still fertilized. And it turned out that all of our blue eggs were fertilized and just a few of the brown ones, which was perfect. That's what we wanted anyway. And like I said, we went ahead and put them in lockdown where we won't open it again until we're ready to take the chicks out. Day 19 and 20 they began hatching. We'll leave and allow them to hatch until about day 23 to 25. We'll keep it running if there's still a couple eggs in there that haven't hatched, to make sure that they have enough time if they need it. You don't want to throw out an egg that a chick is still alive in there and could possibly be hatching, and you just didn't give it enough time. So I'm going to take you up closer and show you a little bit more about the incubator and show you some of the babies in there hopping around, and then we'll talk about the brooder setup that we have going on. So here's a bit better close-up of the incubator. It has 2 windows on the front with the temperature gauge. Right here, this plugs it in, and that will control the heat. On the back is where you will add the water. So this is just a little water humidity tray. There's another one on the other side. And on day 18, you start filling both of them, but before then you only fill one. And you'll have to read the manual for your specific incubator. It could be different for yours. This little box on the back is the egg turner. On day 18, you also just unplug that, so you won't need that anymore. Let's see if we can get a close-up of some of the babies. It's kind of hard to see them. So like I said, 6 have hatched so far, and several more are pipping. So setting up a brooder doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to take much time, and it does not have to be expensive. We started off with a little setup like this. We've graduated to a larger setup out in the garage now, but for these chicks, since we already have chicks in our other brooder, we just went ahead and got a tote, and it can be, I think we used a 20-gallon tote before, but since we have 18 potential chicks, we went ahead with a little bit bigger tote. I don't know what size this is, but it's just a plastic tote. You can use I've seen people use kiddie pools. The chicks will grow out of that pretty quick. And if you have animals that might harm the chicks, like a cat or dog, you're going to want to cover this with something like maybe hardware cloth or chicken wire, something that the air can still get in, the heat can still get in, but the animals can't get in and the chicks can't get out. This is a heat lamp. You want to use the heat lamps that have red lights. The white lights can cause stress. It will still give off heat, and if that's all you have, then that's fine. But the red is actually a little bit better for them. It helps their bones to form better, and it also stops cannibalism, because the chicks, it makes them not be able to see red spots on another chick, and if there are red, where they have maybe pecked it, or it's something else has happened where there's a red mark on it, chicks will be automatically drawn to that red spot and continue to pick at that chick. The red light helps prevent that. So the lamp, they're very cheap. We got them at Tractor Supply. I've seen them at Roll King. You can probably get them at Menards, Lowe's, whatever your closest shop is. And just, like I said, try to get the red bulbs. At first, you'll want to keep it pretty close to your chicks. They need to have it at 90 degrees for their first week. Every week after that, you can go down by 5 degrees. And it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to make sure that they're warm enough, because they just came out of a 100-degree incubator, and their mama hen would usually keep them pretty warm. If they're all piled up together in a pile, that means they're too cold, and you want to get that heat closer to their bodies. It also, if they're piling up like that, they could smother one another by piling on top of each other. So make sure that they have enough heat. but make sure it's not too much heat. If they're trying to get away from it and you see them all scattered to the edges of your brooder, that means they're too hot. Raise the light up a little bit. The next thing you're going to need inside of your tote is, we have wood chips under here. They're just flake shavings that we got from Tractor Supply. It's about $4.50 a bag here for, I don't know how many pounds it is, but it's a pretty big bag. And they're just something to make the ground softer, and it's also more absorbent and easier to clean because they make it pretty messy in here. So you want your brooder container, your heat lamp, your wood shavings. You're going to need a little container of some sort. This is a feed container specifically for baby chicks. You can put a mason jar on top and fill it with chick feed. You need chick starter. You don't want to give them full-grown chicken feed. You don't want to give them scratch or anything else. It has to be chick starter grower. And again, your feed store will have probably a few different varieties of that. We choose to get the unmedicated starter. We don't like to get the medicine in the feed. So we don't have our feed in here yet because our chicks are not ready to go in, but we'll fill that up. And we just start without the mason jar, and probably in a few days we'll go ahead and put the mason jar full of food on top. This is our water. It's very similar. It still does the mason jar on top. It has a little tray on the bottom where the water is. This is just, you just want to make sure they have fresh, clean water. And when they come out, you want to come out of their egg and come to your brooder, you want to make sure you give them all a little drink so they know where their water is. Water is more important than even food. We like to give our chicks an extra boost when they first come. So as babies, we give them fresh water, but we also put a clove of garlic inside the water and just a splash of apple cider vinegar, and that just gives them some extra, I don't know, just an extra boost to boost their health and keep them strong and happy little babies. And that is really all you need to brood your chicks. But don't forget that your chicks are going to grow really fast. And so you need to have an idea in mind, and preferably built or in progress, for what kind of coop you're going to keep them in. The chicks will want to get out of here. It depends on what your weather is like, but you want to make sure it's warm enough outside for them. As I said before, you have to make sure to keep their temperature gradually cooler every week. So 5 degrees each week, 90, 85, 80, 70, 75, or I'm sorry, 75, 70. And then probably about 65, 70 degrees, you can usually take the heat lamp out and they're fine. By that time, they usually have their feathers. When they have their feathers, and it's not just the baby downy fluff anymore, you can go ahead and they can be outside as long as your temperatures aren't cold. Here in Indiana, where I am, it's still pretty chilly outside. So at this time of year, it's the middle of April, we wouldn't be putting our baby chicks outside yet. We'll probably come closer to, it'll be the middle of May, probably, before we put our chicks out. So let me give you an overview or a close-up of our brooder. So we have our brooder, our water and feed container, the wood shavings, and our heat lamp. And again, if you have pets, cover this up, keep them nice and safe and secure. Raise your temperature, or keep your temperature at 90 degrees the first week, and 5 degrees below every week after that until it's about 70 degrees or until they're ready to go outside. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that this helped if you're going to be either hatching your own chicks and brooding them or just getting them from the store or a hatchery. I hope that this was helpful in knowing what you need to do, and of course things could be more elaborate. There's definitely more things you can do for the chicks. You can make it as elaborate or as expensive as you want, but you can also keep it nice and cheap. It doesn't have to be expensive to raise chicks. In about 4 to 6 months, you'll be expecting your first egg, and that is always a fun day. A lot of times when they have their first egg, it's just a teeny tiny little egg, and we call them fairy eggs. They will continue to lay small eggs, but they'll gradually get bigger. In just a couple months, you'll have regular full-size eggs. These chickens that we raise are going to have blue or green eggs, and some of them have brown. It ranges white, brown, blue, pink. You can get all kinds of colors. It's like having Easter every day. The color of the egg depends on your breed, and you can look that up on the hatchery's website and see what color your chicks will lay. If you have any questions about the hatching the eggs, brooding the chickens, or anything else, just leave it in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.